Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Bitcoiners across the world. I have Big Tio. His name is Tony. He goes by Big Tio. We'll talk about that. He is here to tell me about life, family, faith, and El Salvador roots. His parents migrated from El Salvador to the United States in the 1960s, and they left some family behind during that time. His first trip back was in 1972, and he and his family would visit El Salvador regularly, staying for even months at a time through that period. And as we are familiar with, the Civil War erupted down there. Travel became dangerous. When the Civil War ended, he was able to travel again regularly, partially through his work and business, and he maintained family roots throughout. He joined the United States Army. Later, he worked for TACA Airlines, now known as Avianca. I've flown on Avianca myself to get to El Salvador. So he was able to keep traveling regularly and had a 30-year-long career in aviation management. But throughout that time, saw various struggles in El Salvador with changing to the U.S. dollar standard, problems with the gangs, until President Bukele came and changed everything very drastically. So having retired now, Tony's chapter 2 is dedicated to giving back, volunteer work, not just talking about it, but doing about it through his faith and values. So I'm really excited to have him today. Thanks for joining me, Tony.
Fritz, thank you for having me.
It's I learned of you through Sergio, who I met Sergio at the Max and Stacy golf tournament. I must have seen you around down there, but I didn't meet you at that time. For Sergio's sake, he gave me my Bitcoin cap. He just so y'all know, yeah, Sergio does Bitcoin caps. Let me go to the website here, bitcoincaps.net, so you can get your various Bitcoin swag and cool based Bitcoin caps, patriotism, and Bitcoin and all that. That's where I got this. So thanks to Sergio. I met and heard about Tony through Sergio when Sergio was on my podcast. And I said, hey, I want to talk to other cool guys who are doing good things and have El Salvadoran roots and El Salvador stories. So for one thing, I guess we could start with your parents having come to the States from El Salvador. Describe for myself again and all the audience, what were the various reasons why they left El Salvador and came to the States?
Okay, so both my parents migrated to the United States on the West Coast in the mid-1960s. My father came from Santa Tecla, and my mother came from San Salvador. The reasons were, social economics. They haven't changed, right? It was back then, my father, 7 siblings, my mother, 5 siblings, and it was all about helping the family. So they migrated to the U.S. for a better opportunity and hopefully for additional migration and family life quality improvement for the rest of the tribe. And when I mean tribe, with 12 aunts and uncles with a 3-child minimum. I've got a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
So yeah. They migrated, and both my mom took my mom assimilated a lot faster than my father. My mom was fortunate in the 70s to get into corporate America, where my father basically was a laborer his entire life, but a very happy laborer. It was, life in the U.S. in the 70s was a lot different than it is now. But, my father, they both assimilated. They both, my father was a union, it was a union job. As soon as my parents could afford quality of life improvement, we actually moved out of the Latino neighborhood and we moved into an Irish-Italian neighborhood. And there's 2 things I learned to do there: drink and fight, and God bless me, I'm a southpaw.
So you toughened up a little bit through that experience, perhaps.
Yeah, because there was, now they call it bullying. But growing up, it was we were just rambunctious children. We were out and about, and yeah, you had some skirmishes, as you say, right?
Sure.
You'd throw some hands, and then you'd hug it out, and you were friends because that was the neighbor. That's what you did as a kid in the 70s, right?
Right. I had a little bit of that in the 80s growing up, but I mean, things have changed now. Did you ever notice any differences about a sense of, oh, my family's from El Salvador, or you're in a different ethnic group, and did you feel like a minority? Was that ever made a thing, or did you feel kind of just one of the boys?
Yes and no. Okay, so let's break that down. Yes, my initial part of my childhood, because we were in a Latino neighborhood environment where all we did was move from Latin America to the U.S., but zero assimilation. Okay,
Mm,
and then when I moved into the Irish Italian neighborhood and I'm going to a Catholic school, I was just a kid. It wasn't, he's Hispanic, it wasn't nothing like that. And having grown up in San Francisco, right? San Francisco was a diverse melting pot. You've
mm,
got Asian American, Chinese that have been there since they helped found California with the railroads and all that. And then in the mid 70s, we had the big Filipino invasion. So there was, it was um, more Filipino than Latino, because the Latino base in San Francisco is nothing like Los Angeles. I mean, in Los Angeles, just in Los Angeles alone, there's 8 million Mexicanos and about 800,000 to a million Salvadoreños. Yeah, you don't get close to that in San Francisco. It's only 49 square miles, right?
right. Yeah. But your parents could basically, from where they came from in the States, they felt some security in their job, a living wage, could really build themselves up, build some roots. Did they ever worry as you visited later or came back to the States? Was there ever worries about um, the livelihood for family back in El Salvador, or what was looming with civil war, before the Archbishop was assassinated and all that, and that things erupted? Leading up to that, did you have a sense of like things are hard here, or rumbling at all? Or
Yes.
when the Civil War came, I guess, did people see that coming?
Uh, it, yes. So we were very fortunate in El Salvador. Uh, I'm going to say the family was trying to break into the middle class. So they were lower middle class. But
Mhm.
again, with a lot of children, a lot of male boys, soldier age, you,
Right.
you you started to see some grumblings, and that's when you started to see more mass migration, where this will tie all in towards the end with service, where my parents were the first to buy a home in the United States, right?
Mm.
So everybody that came to America came through the Sanchez household at one time or another on both sides of the family.
Like a pit stop to land and settle, and
Yeah, almost like a how do it's where you went. That was where the holding pattern was until you got everything in
the
order.
safe house.
Exactly, and it was at times a safe house because we had uh, the both types of migration, the right way and the not recommended way.
Uh-huh. Right. Some people just, I mean, if you're a little desperate at all, or you're just trying to get there first and then figure it out, sometimes people do what they got
Yes,
to do.
but having married a Salvadoreña, my wife, who lived the entire time in El Salvador. She graduated from high school in El Salvador in 1985, right? And this
Mm.
is when the civil wars and bodies are being left out
Oh
in the
boy.
open.
Yeah.
She had brothers, and when you get to know them and they start telling the stories, one of them was actually recruited, was able to escape after 3 days, and
Oof.
the mother sent them up to the U.S. And you have, I
Get
think you
out of
have a
here
lot of males that came up that way, not by choice. They had to get out, right?
to
They and
escape. Yeah.
Yes,
Were there
exactly.
family members or people in your social circles with family that got hurt, indoctrinated into the gangs, had a bad time of it, permanently?
Yes, so we are impacted as a family. Again, cousins. So now I have nieces and nephews in El Salvador, and unfortunately, the father of one of my nephews is is a permanent resident at Setcot, let's say.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
Got
you know,
stuck
and
into it.
it's, but I think, you know, in I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to talk about it. It is what it is. You know,
Yeah.
it happens in a lot of families, right? Some people just don't want to talk about it, but you know, we've been blessed. I think, you know, we've had more W's than we've had losses,
Yeah.
and the reality is, you know, things happen for a reason. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah. And, people get caught up in circumstances outside their control and they're just trying to survive. Times are desperate. I mean, in some games, it can be like blood in, blood out or whatever. So like you get indoctrinated and they thrust you into something hard. I've heard stories of, now that you're in, you got to do this thing. And then it can separate you, like it can hurt your soul and divide you from your family. And gangs wanting you to identify with the gang, and your family's just, to the side maybe. But anyway, it could be, they break you in and then it's hard to escape or get out. So you're kind of stuck.
Absolutely, absolutely. In El Salvador being such a small country, right? It's not like you can leave the neighborhood and hide. You know,
Right.
they'll find you. They'll find you, and unfortunately, yes, I think if you watched a movie or two, Hollywood isn't too far off on some of that stuff. That it's once you're in, you're in for life, and that's my understanding, right?
So you didn't travel to El Salvador as often when during the throes of the Civil War and the violence and stuff. Did your family take a break from going to visit for a while then?
Yeah, absolutely. So the story with El Salvador starts in '72. My parents would make the pilgrimage to El Salvador. Everybody, it's a stereotype. No, it's real. We can go home. And that's interesting, right? Listen to what I just say. We can go home, right? El
Mm,
Salvador is always going to be home because that's the way we were brought up. But I was born and raised in the U.S. Go figure, right? But we would go to El Salvador, and my mom thought she was doing my father I was my dad's security blanket. If I tagged
mm.
along with my dad wouldn't go to El Salvador and run the streets and get out of control and have fun while he was there by himself, right?
You'd keep an eye on them.
Yeah, supposedly, right? But the problem was that I fell in love with a beautiful country, and the minute
Mm,
we got to the colonia in Santa Tecla, I was raised in Colonia Quesalte, Pasaje Número Uno, right? As soon as I went, you know, I had my little crew down there waiting for me. They knew I was coming, right? Because at the time we didn't have email or social media and any of that, but my parents would call and let everybody know, and then the word would get out that I'd be arriving on such and such day. And as soon as I got into the neighborhood, my father would go his way, I would go my way. We'd meet up for dinner, breakfast, whatever. But it was, I was out and about, and there is no um, it's lawless. It was lawless
mm.
almost, right? You could get into a lot of trouble if you wanted to, but we were just out having fun being kids. But so I went every year from 72 to 77. Then I went every other year until 84 being my last trip. And
Okay.
at that time, um, I had always wanted to serve in the military, so I
Mm,
knew I wanted to enlist when I got out of high school.
mm,
And I played football, in high school. Like we were just talking about being athletes, right?
mhm.
And I'm fully bilingual, and Search can vouch. When I open my mouth, people, they don't know I live in the U.S. We're like chameleons. We adapt to our environment. We're salvadoreños down, deep.
Yeah.
Once
Fit
we
right in.
exactly, there was some paranoia that they were snatching young men from the streets to fill the ranks to recruit for the military.
Mm,
So I stopped traveling there in '84, and then I restarted my travels after I completed my enlistment. That's where TACA International Airlines came to be, which was a national flag carrier of El Salvador. Uh, my
mm.
first job out of the military, I worked for them here out of LAX, and
Uh-huh.
I was fortunate enough. I got my degree and I got into leadership. So I started traveling regularly, first quarterly, then monthly, and then I was making weekend trips, to El Salvador. It's
Cool.
a 6-hour flight from LA, right? I can leave here on Thursday night at midnight. I'm in El Salvador 6 a.m. in the morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Back Sunday night at midnight, and nobody missed me. And that's how I met my wife.
That's awesome. I want to get into that. Before we get too far, you gave me some pictures, and you want to tell me a bit about these pictures of family here. And this is back in El Salvador here?
Yes, that's in Santa Tecla. That's actually at my patriarch's house, my grandfather. That is a lot of my cousins. That's me center right there. So that's probably, we had just arrived. And if you see, they're holding stuff up, right?
Uh-huh.
They're holding up. Those are some of the gifts we brought. Because it's a culture thing, right? When you travel down, you make the pilgrimage, you always bring gifts for the family, right? There's a toy there too, and then there's a picture of one of our loved ones. But that was, when you go to El Salvador, when we would get there, people would stop working. They would stop their daily activities to host us. Okay. And
it's a special event. Yeah.
Family. Yes. And it's interesting because most of those youngsters you see there now, they're either all living here in the United States. Some are in Australia. The ones that are in Australia actually stayed through the Civil War and didn't leave until after it. And we have some that are in Canada as well.
Oh, okay. And that's you right in the middle here.
Right, front and center. Yes.
All right, cool.
I'm the firstborn. Okay, so I can't explain it, but it's no different than it is here in the U.S. The firstborn, they'll do anything and everything for that firstborn, right?
And
so I was well taken care
of. Not quite big yet, but becoming Big Tio. Here's another picture with your family. Looks like dinner celebration.
Breaking bread. Yeah, that is my grandfather, and that is my grandmother on my father's side. Those were his parents, and those are nieces, cousins of mine. So no different than in the U.S. The family all lived in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
Whether it be on the same block or a block over. So whenever you'd get together to break bread, everybody would come over to the house and listen to what the grandfather had to say. Good and bad. If you notice in the pictures, there's a lot of female cousins. And my grandfather was very old school and traditional. So as I was the firstborn, only male. It was my responsibility to accompany my older cousins to parties to keep an eye on them. Go figure, right?
You were the responsible one.
I was supposed to be the responsible one. Yes.
But when you went back to visit, it was, and when you're younger, you don't always notice everything, but it was just basically good family, good life. It was fun and free. You felt freedom and it was fun. So, it was like just normal, good stuff, and they were doing okay and well enough, and life was good.
No, the family values. Yes, the family values were instilled early in our lives, and it was always about community. We were always together, and it's transitioned into adulthood. I can tell you, as a father and husband, we do sit down to eat. We have conversations. Regardless of social media and everything that's going on today that takes people's attention. And that's where a little bit of Big Tio comes in, because Big Tio will shut off the Wi-Fi. And then you got people coming over, what's the password? I said, regardless what the password is, we're not going to have Wi-Fi right now. We're just going to sit down, we're going to play we're going to play board games. We're going to converse. We're going to talk.
We're going to be here now together. And it's hard for families when there's all these pressures and kids are used to their screen or have it in their pocket, or they feel a buzz and they're just going to check real quick and they get sucked right in. And so that, like, when people think of good family values, there are little like new habits we have to have in this technological age, kind of like new manners, if you will, where if family's going to sit down or have dinner or whatever, just little rules that kids sort of need because it's hard to not get distracted. So being with family and taking the time and actually maybe having conversation. So,
There's a difference between be there's a difference between presence and being present.
uh, mhm.
And as the adult figure, I have the presence, but as the uncle that wants to help support you, listen to you, maybe help you, maybe learn from you, that's where you got to have the present. That you have to be present. Yeah, your listening skills need to be there.
Yeah, you're engaged, you're here now, you're listening, and you're not
Yes.
just in charge making rules, you're part of it all. And what motivated you to join the army and go off on adventures there?
The living in an Irish Italian neighborhood. It
Yeah.
was, I was, I ran the streets a little bit,
Hmm.
but that's what we did. We borrowed cars, put them in neutral, pushed them out the driveway, and we did things,
Yeah.
but never to where I was, never in trouble with the law. But even the
Uh-huh.
law, even in the law, the neighborhood I grew up in, again, the I knew my neighborhood patrolman, Officer Bernacardi, and I'll tell you a quick story. I got in trouble one night, and instead of booking me, I was a minor. He took me to the precinct. He had me sit there, and when his shift ended at midnight, he drove me home. And I'm like,
Mm.
you know,
He
I'm
did
like,
you a solid.
well, but and I'm like, why didn't you bring me home at 8 o'clock when you picked me up? He goes, I wanted to wait for your parents to go to bed, and I wanted to wake them up, so it'll be an experience for you.
Oh, okay.
And Bill was that guy. Bill
Mm.
was he was a good cop, but it was it goes back to the whole community thing, right? And I
Hmm.
tie it into I've always been surrounded by that. That's why I guess I blend into it so much. The transition for me, it hasn't been a transition. We've been providing service. I was given service at an early age, and as soon as I got into a position of leadership where I could mentor, I started serving as well.
And the army gave you a lot of those combination
Yeah,
of
yeah. Well,
purpose and leadership. So,
so yes,
yeah.
so you're Billy Badass on the neighborhood, right? You think you're the tough guy, then you enlist, and two things happened. I end up in Fort Benning, Georgia, in the late '80s. Uh, Two things I learned. They lied to me in high school because racism was alive and well in the South.
Oh,
Okay, and I felt it there more than I ever felt it at home
oh,
in the
really?
late '80s. Okay,
Mm,
in the late
interesting.
'80s. Okay, that's one. Two, I was rapid deployment. So Saddam invaded Kuwait in August 1st of 90. I was in motion the 5th, boots in the sand, morning of the 7th, 287 days. And
Oh,
it was, let's just say, you learned really quick, fast, and in a hurry, right? I spent my
yeah.
21st birthday out there. I saw death and destruction.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, I need to get my stuff together when I get out of the military and figure out what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So huge life experience. It could be traumatizing for sure. Vets came back with, um, you know, whatever capacity they had. Those are sudden a thrust of experiences that you come out of, and then it's like, boy, transitioning back home. One, it can give you a sense of why you want to figure out what you want to do in life. But two, it could be some baggage where you're reconciling all the things. And anyway, not an easy row to hoe there. I mean, bouncing over all of that for darn near a year, and then so you got out of the military. That's when you found the airline
Yes.
profession.
So I got out of the military and I went to Academy Pacific Business and Travel College here in Los Angeles, California. I majored in transportation management, and I got a job in the summer of '93 at Tom Bradley with a third party service provider. So the airline outsourced their services. Started as a ticket agent. I
Hmm.
started as a ticket agent on the counter, and they quickly realized I had some leadership skills. I got put into a management program, and that was in 93. In 95, I was offered an operations management role in San Francisco, and that was my first move. I actually went home to San Francisco, and I became the airport station manager there. um, and
Cool.
that's where it all started, man. And again, that's where I started traveling frequently to El Salvador. At the time, most of our meetings were in El Salvador or Miami, but primarily El Salvador.
Hmm.
And I was, I continued to reconnect with my childhood friends. I made new lifelong friends. Um, the How I met my wife, one of her boss was the director of onboard entertainment, the flight attendant corps. My wife was an admin,
Uh-huh.
and I met my wife, and the rest is history. That was what, some 28 years ago, 29 years ago.
So she worked for the airline out of El Salvador and
Yes.
would fly and stuff, but through your work and visiting El Salvador, met her, and then you get to know her family and visiting other areas. Now, through the military, and you told me you like not much rattled you, not a lot scared you. You wouldn't get scared by things too much, but when you would go to El Salvador, and she lived in a rough, or her family
Yes.
was in a rough neighborhood, and you could actually feel
Yes.
scared visiting out there as a young
Absolutely.
male and gang stuff.
Yeah. So, and that's what's interesting, right? So my wife didn't grow up as fortunate as I did. My wife did she grew up in poverty, and she
Mm.
grew up in Soyapango, in a neighborhood, Colonia Monte Blanco. It was notorious during the gang era. It was notorious.
Mm.
In the 56, so in the 50 years that I've traveled to El Salvador, I've been scared once, and it was on a trip to El Salvador when I went to go visit my father-in-law. And I happened to go out the night for dinner, and my transport, I told in El Salvador, the colonias are very narrow, so people park their cars at night, and at night it makes it difficult to drive through the narrow colonias. So I told
Uh-huh.
him, hey, leave me at the entrance, and I'm going to walk down. Well, sure enough, about halfway down, all I heard in the distance was, no, 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 that's Don Toño's yerno, so son-in-law, right?
Mm.
So I apparently I was going to be a target, and it was that is the only time that I can tell you I've ever felt any type of emotion not pleasant in El Salvador.
Like
And
if you'd have been someone, just a random guy walking down there, that you'd be a target one way or another, but luckily someone knew you somehow.
yeah,
So,
and I'm blessed because you know being ex-military, once a soldier, you're always a soldier. I may have been a
mhm.
target, and maybe I was going to get taken out, but I was taking somebody with me. And that's why, my wife would tell the story. Glad they recognized who I was, because I was stupid enough that I would have fought. I wouldn't, because what,
Mm.
you
Right.
know, it's just, that's how we're wired, right?
Yeah, those kinds of scenarios. I haven't been in that kind of a scenario at all, but those thoughts go through your mind, maybe as a man, or I've been in the criminal justice world for years, and you get various training. I mean, through the academies and regular stuff, and learning how to do, apply specific skills
Mhm.
repeatedly, and how to handle yourself and be aware and all the things. But until you're confronted with it, it's hard to know how you might actually react. But as a guy, and maybe I might relate, but the thought goes through my head is like, I'm no sheep, but I also don't want to leave my family behind. So, yeah, I know it's I feel like I would stand up or do something depending on
Yeah,
the
and it's,
circumstances.
what is it? It's what is it? Hide, flight, or fight, right?
Yeah.
And I'm with you, right? I'm with you. That was my mentality. Because at that time I still had that little street kid in me. That all changed the day I became a husband and I became a father.
Mm-hmm.
because the minute you become a father, and now, hey, I don't care what you are, first you're a provider,
Yeah.
and you got to look out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's, to your point, and I can speak to it 30 years after getting out of the military, right? Um, I always said, well, no, that's the way I was trained. No, you know what? Maybe I did have a little anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
My mother tells a story that when I came home, she used to wake me up with a broomstick because I would wake up swinging.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So, and again, you know, I've never gone to the VA because in my mind, I came home, mind, body, and soul. I'm good. But the reality is, when you start taking inventory, to your point, right? Um, if in the law enforcement aspect, regardless of whether you're operative or you're admin, you always there's traumas out there that we experience, and we just don't know how to peel the onion back, right? And as a
Yeah.
male, Latino male, therapy wasn't an option, and in our community, therapy was considered a weakness.
Mm, right. Yeah. And that's where you can lean on family. It gets me to, so when did the name Big Tio come around? Was that
Okay,
once you
yeah, so Big Tio, um,
uncle?
well, yeah, big uncle, right? The wise man, right?
Yeah.
We have my sister has three boys. I have one boy, and my brother gave us the only girl. Okay.
Mm,
My name is Tony. My son name is Tony. Okay. When she was a toddler, she couldn't differentiate, between Tonys. So she knew I was Uncle Theo, right? So she named me Big Theo, and she nicknamed my son Little Theo.
okay.
Okay. She is now 16. My son's 26. Fast forward, my son is 5'11", 250. My kid wants to know, when does he become Big Theo and I become Old Theo? I said, dude, you could grow to 7 feet tall, 300 pounds. You will always be known as Little Theo. So Big Theo stuck around because I'm always helping people, helping my nephews, giving them, uh, I'm the one they call for if my sister, hey, I need you to have a conversation with my eldest or my middle child. Can you help me? And you know, I don't sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. I'm going to tell you what our alternatives are, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to support you. Right.
Mm,
So, and Big Deal, it just
the
stuck.
mentor.
So my
Yeah.
nephews come to my house. See, at my house, you do make your bed every day. You do
Hmm.
lift your plates and put them in the sink. You do say thank you. You do say please. My nephews get sidetracked because their parents aren't as accountable as I am. I guess
Sure.
and that's not. I'm not blaming my sister. I actually blame my mom and my dad
Oh.
because my parents, got really soft in their advanced age. They forgot how they raised us. The grandkids, hey, I couldn't discipline my son in front of my mom. That's not allowed. And
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
that's how
It,
Big Tio came to be.
it's funny when you remember things your parents did, and then even as you feel you're like maybe even nicer than they were in your memory, as grandparents, they just spoil the grandkids, and you're like, Grandma, you're spoiling my kids, or whatever. I mean, it's just funny, but yeah, they'll grandparents can treat their grandkids differently than they treated their own kids, and they just with age, and it's a different relationship. But
Absolutely, and it's not just with the kids. I can tell you, I lived it with my mother, with my wife. Right,
mm,
my mother is my mom's uh, she's an alpha. My mother comes in and takes over. And
mm,
early in my marriage, I had to pull my mother aside and tell her, Mom, I need you to understand that my castle has a queen. I need you to respect that. And my parents aren't used to that. You know, those conversations were never had in our family,
uh,
you know,
mhm.
and again, I stopped the bus immediately and I'm like, time out, we need to hash this out because I don't want, if you start off wrong, it usually ends up wrong. And I would tell, and again, I told my mom, it's not, I don't want to be disrespectful or hurt your feelings. I just want you to understand when you leave, I got to stay there. That's my wife. So if you cause hardship, that impacts me, right? But
Oh, yeah, navigating those kinds of relationships, it's always interesting. I mean, yeah, so like for this weekend, I'm traveling here. I'm in a hotel, but we're at a state swim competition for my son, and my mom, grandma comes to share that time with us. And the family dynamics with when it's just me and my wife, it's just we kind of have our mode. And when a grandparent or other family are with us, styles are different. We kind of integrate and feel out how our parenting styles reconcile with time and perspective. But no, it's fun. Now, as a family, and I'll bring up to screen here a picture of more recently your family here. Tell me about your more recent family visits. This is also in El Salvador, I assume.
yeah, so that is in San Luis Talpa. So that is at the a ranch on the Pacific Ocean. It's my 56th birthday. So there's about 5-6 on that cake, I think, right? Yeah.
So it says 5-5.
Oh, 5-5, my 55th birthday, excuse me. So that was the year before last. So I celebrate I made it a custom that I would celebrate my birthday in El Salvador every year. My parents loved to travel to El Salvador. And when I was in the leadership position and was able to get them, the comp passes, we would travel there regularly. So I live a very private life in the United States, and this is the way I tell everybody. I'm in a leadership role, and it's like a politician. I'm shaking hands and kissing babies Monday through Friday. When I disconnect, I'm a very private person. A book, maybe an adult libation or two, some good conversation. I find that in El Salvador. So I travel to El Salvador for my birthday, at least for a week every year. This case here, it's my wife's sister and 2 nieces. One husband is there, and my son and the big kid in the back, my son.
Right there?
Yeah. And
wow.
we go back to El Salvador, and we just, I don't know if you know what a minuta is. It's a snow cone.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So in El Salvador, it's a favorite dessert, and all my childhood stuff that I couldn't afford to do when I was little, I do now as an adult. I will go get the snow cone guy, have him park his cart at the ranch, and I will buy snow cones for every kid in the neighborhood, whoever wants one, man. I'll put him up for 3 hours and pay him for his services. It just, people watch, talk to people, find out, how can we help?
Oh, how fun. Yeah. And you get a mix of, you've got your comfortable place, your slice of homeland, your family, but also like you can unwind, relax, vacation, and just what a multifaceted set of comforts that way. What I do see back here, is that a paddle? Maybe you need the paddle sometimes too. I'm just
It is a paddle. It is a paddle because it's the name of the ranch is Fish Camp.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's I didn't have any other pictures. These my mom had up north, but the waves crash into the Pacific Ocean, crashes into the back fence of the ranch. So when I walk out the back door, feet are in the sand. I'm on the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful. And it's, and it's the transitions you see where, we can get into the real estate and the economics of El Salvador. These properties 30 years ago, you could get for under 60K. For the last 20, you could get for about 100K. Now they're million, maybe more.
Yeah, El Salvador is growing and growing quick. And when people ask, I met guys down there that are in the real estate and development planning business in El Salvador, variously, San Salvador or near the coast. And it's like, well, when's a good time to buy? It's like, well, yesterday, but like right now, like if you're thinking about it, like if that's a direction that people are considering, I mean, it's only growing. It's only, I mean, more and more people are discovering how special El Salvador is and what's coming, what's growing. It, like you mentioned to me in the past here, was El Salvador could be the Singapore of Central America.
Will be.
Will
Will
be.
be.
Will be.
It will be. It
Yeah.
will be. It's it's incredible. 25 years ago they used to say Costa Rica was the Switzerland of Latin America, right? Yeah, El Salvador is going to be the Singapore. Modern technology, the investments are being made. Um, the boost of expat, okay, the boost of foreigners that are coming in. Um, Costa Rica had an American influx of expats.
Yeah.
El Salvador's is global. You've got people
Totally.
coming in from the Netherlands. You got people coming in Dutch, Germany. You got people coming in from South America. You got people coming in from the U.S. Okay, so you're gathering not just you're gathering not just like-minded individuals. You're gathering a host of cultures, and when they come together, powerful things are happening right now in El Salvador. It's a beautiful thing to see it. I can tell you, I've seen more happen in the last 24 months than in probably the previous 7 to 10 years.
Wow. Yeah. And Bitcoiners say can point to Bitcoin and Bukele's leadership on having a currency or that reserve and that plan. And addition to that is the governance, the regulation. Number one, getting a grip on the law and order and the safety aspect, the security. When I talked to El Salvadorans when I was down there, people of all walks of life, working here or set up there, variously. And we would be like my driver. We'd be driving around, and I'd be practicing my Spanish. And I'm so on Spanish, janky for sure. But we would converse. Sometimes they knew some English, and you'd see, police here and there, pretty decked out, variously all over. And I just wanted to get a sense of, how do you feel about all the security or all the enforcement, not even overt enforcement, but presence. And they were all saying, because for an American to be like, ooh, like this seems like security state-ish or whatever, we're not used to that. Because, I mean, as things fall apart, we're just used to certain comforts. But down there, they just, to a person, they said, oh, we love it. It's great. We needed security. We needed this peace. Now we can just travel. Like, we're glad that the presence is around to just keep everything in check. And then with that foundation on top of that, business regulation, incentives, the nature of the taxes, and people going there. Yeah, there's Bitcoin. There's also just a ripe business environment, and Bukele is investing in infrastructure and growth and building. So there's a lot of reasons people are going down there because it's got a big future. So it's exciting to see.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, I can touch on that a couple of things. 5-6 years ago, so for about a 5-year period, I would only stay at the Holiday Inn, which was about a 500-yard sprint to the U.S. Embassy. Okay, because I wanted,
if stuff went down or something,
exactly, or something, I felt a threat, right? That would be one. And then, I can tell you, we can talk about El Zonte, right? El Zonte has come to prominence last 5-10 years. But El Zonte, I remember one of the first little hotels with a bar and comedor, somewhere to eat, about 25-30 years ago. Okay. But it took people from the outside to come out and say, you know what? Everybody knew it could be done. But it was the people that came in from the outside that said, let's move on this. Let's do it. Right. And then it's grown exponentially. But going to your point, the social economic of where we're in El Salvador, right? So I'm very enthusiastic of the outsiders coming in. Okay. However, I do have some apprehension over everybody's trying to make their money. Okay.
Sure.
And hey, nothing wrong with that. But what are we doing for the pueblo?
Yeah.
And yes, we're creating jobs. Absolutely. Okay. We're creating jobs. Right.
Uh-huh.
But what are we doing longevity wise? What are we
Right.
doing for, this isn't a sprint. This is a marathon, and that's where I've come across some, everybody has an idea. And, I'll tell you the ones that really stand out to me are, I don't know if you're familiar with Murph's life.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
follow him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Building
Murph,
farms.
and he's, introducing 401ks through Bitcoin. I mean,
Yeah.
for me and you, it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who doesn't understand it, doesn't really get it, but 20, 30 years from now, it'll be legendary. Okay.
Right.
Another one, I don't know if you follow Mike from Build in El Salvador.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I follow a few folks that are building down
Yeah.
there, farms and community, like basically trying to be connected to the land, to the people, and working and building up farmland. And I'll have to check on that. Tell me
his
about it.
self mindset, Michael. I'm drawing a blank on his last name right now, but he came down from Miami a few years ago, and he's doing some good stuff in El Salvador. He's got Build in El Salvador. He's on X. He's on Substack, and he's got big vision stuff, right? Big vision stuff, and those are stuff that I like. This last trip through Sergio, I met Rocio and Sean, who are in a village, a beach town, and they're taking care of stray dogs. Man, they're
Oh yeah.
they're providing medical care. They're feeding them. They've got dreams. They've got these plans, and they're giving first. You see where I'm going with this?
They get down there, and even if it's small, what you can say is like, you're not a big wealthy person who's going to go down there and fix a big thing. It's all these little people doing their part, filling in little gaps and doing what you can, and not to like make money and stack, but to connect with the people in the community.
Absolutely, and I think that's where a lot of people, some people do get it, but not everybody. Philanthropy isn't about money. Philanthropy is about contribution. And we, coming back from a fully developed world, we have ideas that we've seen executed, right? There's a lot of things here in the United States we can copy, paste, take to El Salvador, and you will be financially successful without a doubt, okay? But the point is, how do we build the legacy? And that's where I see, what Murph's doing. I mean, that's deep, man. That's deep. There's going to be case studies on that in 10 years, in my opinion, right? Again, I'm just on the outside looking in. But I'd like to see a little bit of more of that. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. And hopefully, when I hope everybody's still stacking, and, because it's still on sale, get it discounted, get it discounted. And then when it gets to, they're comfortable, they can do something with their return, where we don't just, it doesn't turn into greed where we hoard it. Let's, I'm a sideline hodler. It's what I do. But as soon as I can break off a little bit, I do things, right? I try to help. And, and I don't know, when you and I talked the other day, I hope Sergio and I at one time or another can come together and do something. He's got some ideas. We both, we live it and we breathe it because we have that Salvadorian blood, right? And then we make connections like you, and you meet the Murphs of the world and other people through these Bitcoin events. So the Max and Stacy, there's wonderful events everywhere. There's only one Max and Stacy.
Yeah.
There's only one Max and Stacy. And I was fortunate enough to have attended both. And, I hope I don't plan to miss any of them. I don't plan to miss any of them because they're the people you meet. You meet the age group is from 20s to 80s, man. if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where some of us could share some of our wisdom and experiences and financially back some of these youngsters, and let's do something real good. Let's do something real good for the people.
Yeah. And one thing that stands out to me when I think of Murph's life and others that are doing stuff down there, there is quite a foundation, a core strength that comes from faith. So faith and their values there drive that purpose and why they're doing what they're doing. So I want to touch on that. To the extent that you're comfortable about that, faith in your life drives your sense of values and purpose in life, and how you're giving back. Was your family always Catholic when you grew up? Was it Catholic, or when did faith enter your life?
Yes, early on.
Uh-huh.
I'm 56, and I still say the prayer my great grandmother taught me 52 years ago. Okay. I went to a Catholic school my entire childhood. High school was a Christian Brother high school.
Mm-hmm.
My son was Catholic school educated, Jesuit educated high school. I've got nephews that have attended Jesuit universities. Church, I'm a CEO Christian, Christmas and Easter only. But I have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I talk to God every day. I'm big on faith. Okay.
Uh-huh.
How it came into my professional career is, believe it or not, through FedEx.
Okay.
So I worked with FedEx twice in my career, both in leadership. FedEx's pillars were faith, family, career, in that order, and they don't deviate. That's deep, man. And little did I know that I would live my life that way. Through the Jesuit education my son received, mantra is men of service. I've been in service my entire life, helping. Being firstborn, I spoke English. I read English. I was the kid they sent down the block to go help your grandma fill out applications. Go with your grandfather to the doctor's appointment. I was the translator. We're going to the rec center because they're having a meeting. Can you voice this opinion for us? So I was always involved, right?
Uh-huh.
Then I get into the aviation industry, and I'm in Los Angeles, where this is. So you know how El Salvador has 15 states, right? Departamentos.
Uh-huh.
Los Angeles is 16th. This is the largest community of Salvadorians outside of El Salvador.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I would work in the Salvadorian communities. Being in transportation and logistics, I would help through the earthquake, when they had those earthquakes in the 2000s. I worked with the community. We'd get donations, get shipping containers, fill them up, get them sent down there. We'd gather donations. We were always doing something, right? We were always doing something. And through there, I learned not all community service is good. Not all community service is welcomed. Good, not all good, because unfortunately there is some corruption there. Also, we provided an injustice because we gave away all these free things to people that didn't have any merit having them. So we spoiled them, right? And I think a lot of that happened, because of the excess consumption we have here.
Oh, so like they get stuff for a while, they come to expect that or need that, but then they don't. If it goes away, they're not self-sufficient, or
correct. Exactly. That's part of it. Or they wait for it anxiously just to sell it.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Okay. You had a lot of that. Right?
Yeah.
And so again, I've always been involved. So I did remove myself from the community, and I wanted to help out in more of a leadership role. I wanted to be a decision maker, not an operator, and I wanted to see it from A to Z. I wanted to see how we gathered it, and I wanted to see it delivered, and how it went. Are we building schools with this? Are we funding libraries? Are we really buying these books? Are these things we're saying we're going to do really happening? Because I can get up here in front of a group of 500, Salvadorian business people and do my speech and gather some funds, am I buying what I'm saying I'm going to buy, and am I delivering, right? And a lot of that I've seen not happen. So I don't want to, again, with all this people coming in from the outside, I don't want to see any. I don't. We have to control the leakage.
Right. And the Jesuit community within the Catholic Church is very much about service, being men of service, and doing the outreach and making a difference and helping people. That's the mission, if you will.
Absolutely. Men of service, exactly.
And then seeing that through, it is naturally very hard where, like, say there's kind of a larger than normal kind of a problem or an event that happens, or a really hard, difficult situation going on, and it needs a lot. So a lot goes in, but like without the right people seeing it through and making sure that the things are happening, it could be like, well, these people need houses, and well, houses need the sticks and the concrete and the stuff, the tools. Well, that, get them that stuff, and then we have some people that'll build houses. And unless you have the right people, then also, I suppose, on the ground to make sure that it gets there. And some people say they're going to build houses with it, but unless it's being done, it could like go away in places where we're going to go do that, but it gets resold or not going to really the right people that need it. Or it's like you got to see it through and through, I suppose.
Absolutely. And that's why I said the A to Z, right? The A to Z. And it's just, it's interesting how we, trying to remember in the Bible, right? What is it? Teach a man to fish and feed the village, right? That's what's happening now. We're teaching a man to fish. Murph's life's a prime example, okay? But there's other stuff going on in the country where before, being so many people out of the country, we tend to send people money instead of the actual goods they really need, and then the money doesn't go to use the way it's supposed to be used. And you'll when you spend more time now, you'll hear some stories, man. You've got people that have been here in the U.S. for 30 years, have never been back to El Salvador, have religiously sent money back to their families for their property upkeep in El Salvador, and they get to El Salvador and find out they don't have any property.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. I can only imagine, like, you're not down here making sure what's happening. Yeah, the accountability piece could be dicey, I suppose.
Correct. Oh boy. Correct. And that's where, there's going to be opportunities for support and going into the community. And you also have some communities where they're in the process of recovering properties, right? Because the gangs did take property.
Oh, yeah.
They evicted people of entire communities and took over it. No different than what's happening with the cartels in Mexico.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right now, that whole situation is a real, it's like it was always simmering in the background and would erupt here and there. And in my head, it was like, that is really, really bad and entrenched. But there was kind of a mask over it with tourism and, I don't know, politicians that want to survive, kind of making it managed, or not even managed, but like preventing them from being unhappy enough to cause a problem. So then when it gets popped, it's like the mask is torn off, and here's that horrible situation popping off. And Mexico's got a real long slog ahead of itself if it really wants to fix all that, I think.
Yeah. And what's interesting, nobody talks about it, but they talk about the cartels in Mexico, right? But they don't talk about the migration. Mexico's the stop point before crossing the border into the U.S. You got people from all over Latin America and the Caribbean and Cuba, even Africa, sitting in Mexico trying to come across the border.
Right.
So, yeah. But going back to the El Salvador part, now you're seeing southern migration. You're seeing people leave the U.S. going back to El Salvador. You're seeing people leave Costa Rica. You're seeing people leave Honduras, Guatemala, for what they think is better living in El Salvador. And right now it's safer living. We
Yeah,
need to
I'd say
work.
El Salvador is safer than many places in America, or I mean,
Ab-
any urban
absolutely.
area in America. So,
Absolutely, it's safer than Skid Row here in Los Angeles. The where the
oh yeah, for
homeless
sure. Oh,
are
definitely.
yeah. And again, but it's what's coming is incredible because of everybody that's come from. I mean, it's a meeting of the minds globally.
Hmm.
Think about that, right? And there's multiple Bitcoin podcasts being done regularly from El Salvador. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
totally. I've seen those. Yeah,
Exactly. You
yeah,
yourself went down there. You experienced it, right?
yeah,
I hope you're looking to go back.
yeah. I
Bring
want
the
to.
family. I tell
Yeah,
everybody, bring the family. When you get there, it does two things. Trade and tourism in El Salvador is going to blow up. The coffee, a lot of people don't know. Starbucks sells coffee that is grown and gathered in El Salvador, roasted in El Salvador.
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity in El Salvador. They're
Uh-huh.
building a port. And again, I'm looking at the trade and tourism, hotels. Right, you were down there. High rises. There really isn't that many. There,
Right.
you could call them on a handful modern high rises. Right. If we're going to be the Singapore of Latin America, there's a lot of high rises coming up. Hotels,
Hmm.
right? Big brand hotels. There's a lot of small hostels, small brand, but there's an opportunity for franchises there, right? Again, and now we're just spewing about the business part. Those are
Uh-huh.
the ones that are going to create jobs. A Marriott goes down there. Marriott's going to be there for 25, 30 years, maybe 50. Okay, that's
Hmm.
longevity. That's going to
Yeah.
give back, right? That's going to fund families for generations. So
Yeah.
there's an
When I saw
opportunity.
Google went down there and had a big building, big logo, and at first when I first heard of that, I'm like, huh, is that a strategic spot for them or something? But I mean, yes, it's growing huge, and they're being supported by their government, and there's a huge opportunity down there. So like more and more and more of that will be coming, and
And it's a
good
copy
soil.
paste. Yeah, it's a copy paste. I saw it
Oh,
when I was with FedEx in Costa Rica. You
mm,
had Bayer down there, you had Microsoft down there, right? And we're talking about the 90s.
mm,
We're talking about so now, in El Salvador, but where I was going with the high rises, you were there. El Salvador is really small. You can
right.
only go up, man. You can't expand east, west, north, south. You got to go straight
Yeah,
up. So
yeah,
there's a lot of modernization coming, and that's why you'll have that, what 20 years from now, and you were there. So did you
uh-huh.
stay at the Sheraton across the street from the Google from the Google building?
I was actually down in El Zonte.
Okay,
So we
okay,
we
okay.
we traveled up to visit around in like San Salvador area, but I was largely down at the coast or at the Bitcoin events,
Okay.
but so I didn't see San Salvador as well.
Right.
But I mean,
So the
just the basic.
buildings, the buildings don't go past 15
Yeah,
stories,
yeah.
right? Even the apartment, some of the new high rises are going a little higher, right? The
Hmm.
condos that are going up. So I think you're going to see a lot of more of that, right? And then what's going to happen is um, people are going to evolve, right? Education is going to improve. People are going to get better jobs, earn more money. They're going to want nicer, more lavish dwellings. Maybe not luxury, but right now anything new in El Salvador is luxury because everything old is so antiquated.
Mm,
If that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
then
going to
you
be
have
built.
simple life. I mean, all I need is a shower head, a bed, and somewhere to eat.
Yeah.
There's
Personally, I don't need a lot.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And El Zonte, that's why I love El Zonte because I can disconnect. You're you're remote enough from the city where it's completely disconnected. And I share this example when we would go to El Salvador. When I went to the beach, whatever ranch I was at, I preferred a ranch that didn't have electricity because that means we didn't have Wi-Fi. Yes, was it a
Uh,
struggle with the air conditioning at times? But then once you have a family, it changes. You got to have air conditioning because she says so. But the whole thing of getting away from the city is to disconnect and listen.
yeah.
The sounds. El Zonte is that, and there's some nightlife in El Zonte. You've got some good restaurants.
Yeah.
And then you got some. You've got some nice restaurants where you sit down to eat, and then you have your pop ups where you can stand and eat. But what my thing about El Zonte is the community. I
Uh-huh.
love that community environment.
Yeah.
Nobody's hoarding information. Everybody's sharing.
Uh-huh.
So you're building all the time.
Yeah, people were open and collaborating and just
Transparency,
sharing the vibe.
transparency.
Like, yeah,
They're looking to partner up. They're not,
yeah,
nobody's looking to strike gold by themselves.
yeah,
They know it's going to take a community. Absolutely.
yeah. And the further west or north, or yeah, I guess north, perhaps kind of northwest you go on that beach, it's quieter and quieter. It was very quiet at night. And then there's other areas where, yeah, with nightlife a little bit further to the south and east, some places to go and have music and dance and stuff and fun beach party scene. But it was a good mix, and you can have a very quiet, nice life out in that countryside there, and also just, I mean, talk about country. There's all kinds of country all over as well that are going to be steadily growing around, lakes and mountains and areas. There's so much potential.
Exactly. And you saw, right? So when you come off the highway coming in from San Salvador, you make a right. You make a right to go to El Zonte, but
Yeah,
directly in front of you is Misapa, right?
yeah,
You
straight
saw
down.
there's a lot of I don't want to say undeveloped, underdeveloped, because people have shanty, little cabins here and there. But
Uh-huh.
imagine when you start putting some of that stuff out there, and again, this is where I don't want to see people get displaced, but I think you're going to see some of that. I saw it when they built the port. Did you get to go out to the dock? I
didn't go to that. No.
There's a port out there where they're building. There's restaurants. There's if you've ever been to Santa Monica, it's like a Santa Monica Pier type environment. Okay.
Cool.
I can tell you, yeah, it's wonderful, right? It's wonderful. But I can also tell you from the one I know 20, 30 years ago, it displaced a lot of people that made their living selling goods there. Those people are no longer there. So where have they gone? Where have they gone?
Yeah. So when you talk about the marathon versus, people coming in, making money because they can afford to, they get primo spots and whatnot. That has an effect on the community that's been there. And so, like, whether you call it, I don't know, gentrification or whatnot, what you want to do when you go down and invest is not like come in with all of your stuff and make it the way you like it, but it's the integration. And yeah, okay. So on one level, you could say, well, it'll create jobs or it'll build more of an economy, and that'll, okay. But when people do build or volunteer and fill in gaps, and I tried to be mindful of that as a tourist, that I want to be it's not like what El Salvador is offering me. It's what are we offering to El Salvador? So integrating into that and, like I think of there's efforts being done to get cattle ranching growing and building down in El Salvador, getting some cows and beef and stuff growing down there. And instead of just, it's not about business and money, but it's providing El Salvador with food. We want El Salvador to have access to local, internal to the country quality food, and not have to like export their beef from Guatemala or wherever, or Argentina. So it's building that community. When you go, it's not just, yeah, you make one area nice and clean, but what does that do? You want to think of all the downstream effects and how you fill in gaps for the El Salvadoran people. So
absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on that. Texas Slim. So
yeah, Texas Slim.
Did you meet Rocky down there?
Not Rocky. I met Tom Tabor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, I'm going to tie this into service really quickly for you. But before I forget, I want to correct myself. El Salvador has 14 states. 14. Los Angeles is considered the 15th.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I play my practice round on Friday. Okay. And I come up.
Isn't that course crazy?
Yes, it is. It is the most difficult course I've ever played in my life. Oh. And I played a lot of golf through FedEx. Okay. I was in sales. And FedEx Cup, we had access to a lot of golfing. But I come off the course and I go to the area where they're setting up the poker tables for the poker tournament that night, right?
So
and I'm talking to the president of an association down there, and a lady comes by. She goes, "Hey, do you mind if I have a seat?" Speaks perfect English. I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." I guess she's heard us, so she felt comfortable. She wanted to sit there and she wanted somebody to talk to.
Mhm.
And we start talking about service. And she goes, "Well, there's this charity in Los Angeles." And I go, "Los Angeles, that's where I live." She goes, "No kidding, that's where I live." And then she tells me about this organization called Share. She's on the board. Share is the organization where I am taking the peer support training.
Oh, that's small world.
And I didn't start it that week. So I'm taking it in Spanish, right? I'm taking it in Spanish because the week I was in El Salvador, the English one started. But I'm fully bilingual, so I'm fine. And I explained it to her. And then it goes back. So she's on the board with Texas Slim. So she's
Oh,
involved in this whole cattle and look, yes, absolutely. So there's going to be a lot of culinary expansion in El Salvador, and you're going to have it at all three levels: at a fast food level, at a medium mom and pop, and you're going to have it at a luxury level. There's
oh,
opportunity there. There's
hmm.
opportunity there, right? So, I'm fully with it. And again, what I like, when you talk about the development for cattle and that's long term. It doesn't just die off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
breeding it, you're creating a path that's going to build bridges into the future. That's the type
yeah,
of stuff that I'm talking about that gives back to the community.
yeah,
It's
yeah. What they're building down there, it's like, yes, it's economic, yes, it's use of land and all that, but like what Tom Tabor was telling me about was how, gangs, cartels would come in and decimate food sources, decimate the cattle, destroy crops to control people. And it's building that back so that, yeah, okay, ranches are going to have ranchers and ownership of cows and all that, but it's providing that local food source so that that beef can, number one, be provisioned to the people of El Salvador itself. And then, okay, sure, yes, they may also then export it as well. But El Salvadorans need their own sources for food. I mean, of all things, food. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and it goes back to even bigger than that, right? Let's look at generations and generations of cattle ranchers have done it because that's the way it's done.
mhm.
I think what's coming in is I see an education process. A reset is happening in El Salvador on the whole level. We're not just
Mm,
learning, people they teach you how to do it, right? Now we're teaching and hey, let me help you understand the theory of why we're doing this.
yeah,
So the
right.
education process is incredible, man.
Yeah,
It's you started with the whole thing in El Zonte and Bitcoin and the hardware store and how it started. It started with pop-ups and mom and pop conversations.
uh-huh.
Now we're sitting here talking about feeding a nation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible, man.
There's a hunger for it, and so just go do things, and you'd be surprised how much it grows. Is this the organization you were referring to, Share?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
So you're doing part of your giving back because and I wanted to touch on all the different ways that you volunteer and help people. You help veterans. You've worked for the Children's Cancer
Yeah,
Hospital.
yeah.
Is
So
that yeah? To tell me about all the things you do to volunteer. You're getting your peer support, your certified peer mentor certification.
correct. I'm in the process of that now. I should complete it next week, and then I'm going to take the state exam for certification. But I'm not
Awesome.
doing it for profit. I'm not looking to get a job in the sector. I'm doing it in a volunteer capacity. So, uh, volunteering. I can tell you, I've done Leukemia Society. I've been a lead at the Ronald McDonald uh, Home for cancer patient treatment, the Sunset Boulevard Hospital for kids, women's battered sheltered,
Uh-huh.
food banks. Um, you name it, I've done it, man. And it's I did it to one uh, with my son. for throughout his high school years. We did it together, junior high. And initially he knew it, he didn't like it because it was about hours. And now it's like, hey, we haven't done our work this quarter. You know, he comes to me, hey, what are we doing this quarter, right?
Oh.
So it's just what we do. Okay. Where I'm currently supporting is, so I'm at UCLA Health for Operation Mend. It's a post 9/11 program here in LA. I live in West LA, so I'm about 3 miles from UCLA campus. I cohorts come in for 2 weeks. They come in on over the weekend. They spend a weekend here, and you know, week 1 is physical evaluations, and then you do mental stuff. As veterans, we don't ask for help. We don't like for help. So
Right.
I'm a buddy.
Yeah.
I reach out to them. I welcome them, you know, and I'll host them. You know, hey, you're in LA. Have you ever been to LA? What do you want to do? You know, just somebody check in. I do it via text. First, I welcome them with an email. Then I welcome them with a text once they're in LA. I'll reach out to them. I'd like to take them off, you know, off campus just to help them unwind, because I know how grueling and grinding the sessions are. You know, it's not easy for you to get in front of somebody and that's trying to provide you treatment, right? For you to open up. But as a peer, having somebody that's walked the same dirt in the same path with you, sometimes they'll open up with me, and then I'll always refer them back to their counselors, because I'm not a professional. I'm a guy that, hey, I'm going to help you while you're here. So I do that. I also volunteer right now.
And I will just say that could be very hard, because when you counsel and help other people a lot, you can, as empathetic and caring as it is, and that they need it, you can take on vicarious trauma yourself. Like, you're hearing their stories over time, you're helping, but then you know, in your head, you've taken in a lot of that, and that's hard work.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what I'm learning too is, for example, my traumas from my deployment, from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, are completely different than the traumas from Afghanistan. They're just completely different. Even though same region, there was bullets flying, but the traumas are different. The generations are different, right?
Yeah.
So it's and I'll give you a quick example. Through the program, because it's affiliated with the university, we have access to sporting event stuff. If you're familiar with college sports, UCLA rival is USC. Okay. Men's basketball game. There was a men's basketball game for UCLA at Pauley Pavilion with one of my cohorts, and he wanted to attend the game. And the program made a decision that, no, we don't go to that. We can go to many games. Well, we won't go to that game because that is a rivalry game. So when it's a rivalry game, it's crowded, it's rowdy. It's not an environment you want to put your veteran in.
I see.
And those are the things that you learn as a peer, right? When I'm at an event, I'll do I'll check on my peer, and and if I see things that are uncomfortable, I'll find a way to de-escalate it, and we have to leave the event. It's I'm there to provide peer support, right? And it's because the reality is the mental health it's prominent right now, and I'm glad it is, but it's also, we say we're all warm and fuzzy with it, but we're really not, if that makes sense.
As veterans, I mean, yes, you have a different background in a way you might relate, and you can go to a regular counselor and kind of talk about it and have it be kind of nice, but there could be a thing of like, you don't really get it, but if it's man to man, like you, who's, seen your own share, but can relate on like if you were in the infantry together, there's things you can say and do and relate on that are safe, I suppose.
Yeah, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, yes.
Yeah.
And if we're same branch, it's even a deeper connection.
And is this it's through UCLA?
Yes, sir. That is
Battle Buddies. I just was searching for that, but yes, it looks like
that is
through exactly the VA.
Yes, sir.
Veterans Healthcare Services, holistic approach. So anyway,
yep.
Yeah. So
that's one. And then the other one is right there in the VA in West LA, there is a golf course. It's called Heroes Golf Course. I am an avid golfer, man. I love golf. I can play golf every day of the year, twice a day if she let me. So I play and I walk the course with peers. It is a walking only course, and sometimes you keep score, sometimes you don't. You meet up with people you don't know, and then you start there. You build bridges with them, right? You build communication, and you support them. It's a wonderful facility, and again, those are my two go-to spots right now. And I'm trying to do some stuff through Share. I can tell you my two W's. So I posted on my veteran network this morning. I have two W's this week. One was Wednesday. I led a Spanish resume building workshop that I shared with you, and two is this podcast. This is one of my wins this week, and it's appreciated because you've given me a vehicle, a voice, and I appreciate you having the conversation with me of the things that I am passionate about, El Salvador, and giving back to my community.
I love that you're sharing all this with us. I mean, people like to hear about the history of El Salvador, what that has been like for the people over the decades. You going back to visit and seeing that and having family there to this day, and not as much and more than that is all that you've given to our country, and now giving back, having felt career success and feeling retired, that your faith and your family and your purpose just rings through all of what and why you do it. And so giving back, I love hearing about the fact that as becoming a peer mentor, a peer support specialist, working with the VA, being a battle buddy, and then anything else, all kinds of other things to just fill in the gaps. And okay, you're just one guy, sure, but you've brought in your son, you've brought in your family, you're bringing in others, you're talking about it here. And I just love that about you, is that you could easily, you've done your time and you could just relax, but you're putting it back in, investing it back in, giving back. And I love to hear that. I really appreciate you sharing that, with me.
Oh, thank you, man. It's been wonderful. And I'll tell you, it hasn't always been that way though. And I'll tell you, I spent 30 years in corporate America, and a restructuring came, and it was my time to go. I spent some time angry at the world because I was 50. I wanted to retire at 50. My wife said I would get bored. I got impacted at 53. I'm 56 now, right? I was angry at the world, but then I had a moment of reflection, and I realized I was blessed because I had a wonderful career. I deployed. I saw action. I came home. I'm blessed. And you asked me about faith, right? Something that skipped my mind and I didn't share. So I deployed for 287 days. Do you know that I came home on Good Friday? God is good, my friend. I came home on Good Friday.
That was
Not
a
only
good
did
Friday.
I come home on Good Friday, I spent Easter with my mother. And as her firstborn, Faith. Yeah, my mom's the lady that goes to church every day. Okay, so it's just that's the way we're wired. But going back to me being impacted, I reflected and I'm blessed. And then we took an inventory, and when I say we, my wife, my son, and I, and then we realized we lost our bearing. We overindulged. I can tell you, I can't explain when I finally decided, okay, I'm done. I'm going to donate suits. I'm donating 12 suits to Goodwill. 4 of them are blue shades. And my niece asked me, Big Tio, why do you have 4 blue suits? How do I explain that? Big Tio, why do you have brand new loafers in your closet? It's because I lost my bearing. I became a consumer and I forgot, I lost my bearing, but I was just misguided. I wasn't completely gone. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know what? And that's where chapter 2 came in. Chapter 2, it's going to be all about service. It's not, I don't need filet mignon every day. I don't need the lobster. It's nice every once in a while with a bottle of wine and my libations. But let's give back, man, with purpose. And
Uh-huh.
Latinos, Hispanics in Latin America, El Salvador, TACA Airlines had a publicity campaign in the 90s, early 2000s. How do you describe El Salvador or TACA Airlines? And it was three words:
Oh.
warmth, pride, and passion. You were in El Salvador. Tell me you didn't experience it.
Yeah, I was asked a question. I was down at the golf course, and there was a media interviewer who just kind of going around, and I was with a company down there, and they said, in one word, summarize El Salvador. I'm like, one word, and I basically just said, amor, love.
Yeah.
Like I just because I was literally I was feeling it.
You
It was
felt the
love.
warmth. You
It was
felt the
warmth
warmth.
and passion. Yeah.
People are proud. The people are proud. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So as a proud Salvadoreño in a position where I feel blessed and I know I'm blessed, let's give back. And again, I re-emphasize, and this is for everybody that hopefully gets to listen to this. Philanthropy is not about money contribution. It's about your time. We all have a skill set. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be a therapist. You don't. Hey, people just want to be heard. You listen. You give back. Hey, maybe you were a librarian. Hey, let's go down there and let's organize libraries. Maybe you have a network. You talked about connection, right? I have over 1,500 LinkedIn connections. Those are professional connections. Okay. I have some friends, Rosillo and her fiance, and I'm drawing a blank right now.
They take care of the dogs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sean and
Yeah.
Rosillo, right? They've got a school for kids, right? I'm trying to organize something where I get some books. I know people in the education system. I know we cycle books through. I know they get donated. Okay, how do I need to create a nonprofit in order to secure those books? I know the logistical part. I can get the books down there, but how do I start? How do I help? How do I put my grain of sand in that beach they're working on? And it's not just me. It's through your network. I've got a couple hundred. You've got a couple hundred. Sergio's got a couple hundred. Hold on. Between the three of us, we may have over 1,000. If we start reaching out to our people, we can help. And it's not just helping El Salvador, right? Help ourselves here as well. Because the reality is everybody, I don't know what burden or cross you carry, Fritz. I just met you. You just met me. It's not all warm and fuzzy. We've all got burdens, like I tell my kid. I said, kid, you don't know. You have no idea. I'm the one that has to wake up in the middle of the night. How am I going to make this mortgage payment? How is this private school getting paid? How, you know what I'm saying? Or, we're athlete dads, right? Yeah. Travel ball isn't easy, kid. It's not cheap either, right? How do I, we can help each other, and it's not always monetary. That's the point I'm trying to drive home. We have a skill set. Let's volunteer.
Yeah. And it exercises your compassion, your connection with the deepest values. I'd say most people, when they think of life priorities as a kid's trying to find his way in life, they prioritize career, and then maybe somewhere in their family, and then maybe faith and God. But like FedEx, I mean, they were talking about, God and faith, and then family, and then career. And so that way you have a stable foundations from which, yes, you're going to have a career. And then like you experience, sometimes doors slam in your face and it feels like the worst thing ever. And you're grappling. I mean, I've been through that where it's like, okay, now what? My identity, my sense of purpose, or my money stream, or whatever. It ended up, in hindsight, those were like, that gave me a push to, like, I wouldn't have chosen that. I wouldn't have wanted that. It seemed like why me? That's bad. But however that happened, it gave me a push. And in hindsight, it's like, I'm glad that happened because it got me where I am now, which is better than what I might have just passively chosen for myself. And, but without those foundations, like, okay, so when your career changes or wobbles or something, what do you have supporting you? If it's all career, like you could, you could really suffer. But if you have other foundations in place, and part of that through a sense of time, giving your time and charity and for family, you've built that, the relationships, the relationship with your faith and community. And so you have more of a foundation, and it's not just money and career. So
No, the pillars are there,
yeah.
and to your point, you just went over the seasons. Okay,
Mm,
growing up, I was Tony, the kid on the block. Then I became Tony the soldier. Then I
mm.
became Tony the executive. Then I became Tony the husband, Tony the father. Okay. Later in life, I became Tio,
Big
Big Tio,
Tio.
right? So identities change. You just hit the nail on the head. I wasn't a title. Big Tio is, it was given to me by my niece. It wasn't something that I earned at a job or I put on a business card, right? It was
Mhm.
given to me. And that's my identity. And to your point, people lose their identity. And then the faith, never lost the faith. My relationship with God, and I pray every day. We
Yeah.
have some habits, routines. We get in the car, we make the sign of the cross, we say our little, prayer, and then we ask, my son, don't ask him what he asks about, what he asks and what I ask, and I jokingly say, I'm good. I already talked to God today. We're good. We're good. Right? And
Yeah.
and sometimes I talk to him 2 or 3 times a day. It all depends on what's going on in life.
Mhm.
But all that is because of the family values that were instilled in me growing up. And this isn't about being Salvadorian or American. Family values are family values. And unfortunately, just like I lost my bearings have been lost where it comes to that now in family.
Yeah.
We talked about having a conversation, right? Quick story: as a kid, I grew up with Brokaw. Okay, Tom Brokaw on the
Oh,
TV.
Brokaw. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and my parents, and I thought my parents, wow, this is kind of cool. My parents are assimilating. They want to know current events.
Hmm.
Find out as an adult, the only reason Tom was there is because that's how they learned English,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Right,
TV is a way to learn.
right. But we had conversations based on current events, and this where it goes back into the assimilation, where part of the issues of what we're living here in America now is lack of assimilation. We
Mm,
haven't
hmm.
assimilated properly. And again, and that's people say, we use the word expats in El Salvador, but really it's immigrants. Now it's in reverse, right? Now it's in
Hmm.
reverse. But the immigration in El Salvador is more, they're they're assimilating quicker than we assimilated here. If that makes sense.
Oh,
I see it.
and
I see it.
that's good. Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. Look, man, the faith part, that's the key that I think we've talked the least about, but that's the one where that's the driving force. Without
Yeah.
faith, nothing else happens, right? You gotta have a belief, man, and unfortunately, that they don't talk enough about that in social circles now. It's I don't know. It's not.
It's culturally, it's lost very broadly in and we don't have that, in America. And you can talk about the four turnings and all those things, but we're kind of in this stage where things are very, very fragmented, very non-cohesive, a lot of divisiveness, and there's not a sense of that unity. Like, who are we as a people together? It's kind of like, well, what side are you on? And then in that side, what intricate details do you hang your hat on, and how, it's like it's really hard to like come together and unite and feel that togetherness about what it is who we all are. um so it's hard lately, just in our society and culture today. It seems very fragmented and divisive, for sure. um
We can no longer agree to disagree.
yeah, right, yeah. It's like people are, the worst label in the world, or they're dead to me. It's like, oh boy, we've gone so far. Um, to what extent would you identify your faith and what your purpose is? Would you say that is still very connected deliberately through Catholic Jesuit community, or is it broader than that?
It's broader than that because I've spent 30 years in leadership and I've met all different types of people. Um, I led work groups in Los Angeles, predominantly Hispanic. Uh, Led work groups in San Francisco where there was a little more European influx, Irish, Italians. I've led work groups in Chicago, which is definitely predominantly European, right? Then or
Mm-hmm.
Texas and Vegas, where you have uh, real American Indian type heritage, and then Texas, you have Texans, right? Not the Mexicans that have been here for 300 years.
Right.
Everybody, my belief is this: as long as you believe in the higher power of good, we're all good. I really don't. I don't care what water faucet you drink from, as long as we know we're drinking good Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah.
That's so it's more broader than that, but primarily unfortunately now I'm at an age where I help attend my parents, take them to funerals and stuff like that, or I've had to go on to I go to different types of services, and I'm like, wow, right? It's different, but doesn't mean I'm less accepting.
Right.
They lived a life of service. I support that.
Yeah, and there may be many paths up to the top of the mountain, but I think the view is the same for all of us. And yeah, so as you see the world, meet different people, you have your faith, but as long as people say have their flavor or version of that and are, working to right purpose and have that relationship, yeah, we can keep that unity. It's that central golden thread that keeps us all tied together at a very deep level. That spiritual level is what we need to remember, and we forget that. We dehumanize people, or we don't have the compassion, or it's very much about business and money, and people are under money stress and all the fiat pressures, and so they forget. But yeah, hopefully, and I think we're coming back to it in a way. I think more and more people are seeing that there's problems, but what's the solution? And there's not a real obvious solution. Well, what do you fall back on then? So people have to kind of stop and really do that search or feel it out. So I think things are going to get better.
Yeah, you have to find your center of gravity.
Yeah.
And I can't do that for you. You've got to do it on your own. I can't, doing my peer support and working with recovery people, I tell them, hey, my job isn't to handhold. My job isn't to push you along. My job is to, just walk with you.
Yeah.
My job is to walk with you. And the reality is, if you have faith, we're going to get to the end. If you don't believe it, it's you're making it just harder for yourself. You're just deferring the success. But yeah. I think, when you ask me that question, that's interesting because I've had that question with my son. My son's 26, and my son has had some, I didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice either. But as an adult, I understood, okay, I can make a change if I want to. And I told him the same. But the reality is, you can interview all faiths and see what you decide, right? But the reality is we all seem to come back to the one and only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people got to do their own work. And I work with a lot of, in my line of work, we work with drug and alcohol counselors, mental health counselors, peer support specialists, people who provide various services, housing and training and jobs and all the things. So like you, they are variously adept at, working with other people, just being there day by day and filling in the little gaps, or doing something very deliberate that they need. And it's not easy work to do, but it takes that compassion, and it's and ultimately the person has to decide and act for themselves. You're there to be there with them, walk with them, maybe show them a path that can be taken or lay out the options at hand, but they've got to do the work. They've got to you know, you can't force it. We don't have the science just to give them a pill and have it fixed. They also have to walk the path as, you know,
Exactly.
themselves. And
And
sometimes there's
that's
no science that'll fix anything. And what, like, sort of like AA or NA and some of these things, they have to have a higher power to fix deep broken trauma or events. They can't just rationalize their way through it and just do all the right things. They have to feel it. And for many people, it's like, it doesn't matter what faith you have to let go and take on something bigger than all of us. And that's what helps them a lot of times.
absolutely. And to your point there, I'm one of the rules I have is sometimes people walk away. You got to let them walk away because it's not their time. They're not ready. I
Yeah.
can't force you into something. I can't force you into treatment. I can't. That's look, when you're good and ready, you're going to come around. One,
Yeah.
two, help those that want to be helped. You know, I'll use a prime example. This peer support workshop I did on Wednesday. There's 30 people in the group. Okay. Something I learned in the military is you learn to read the room.
Yeah.
They asked me how many people are you expecting. I said 3 or 4. 4 people showed up. I had an idea of the 4 people that were going to show up, right? And like I
Mm.
told them, I'm still open to helping the rest of the cohort, but my primary focus is you're going to get the personalized because you showed up. And
Mm.
that's the way it is because, you can't just throw a fish net out there and try to grab 100 fish. You don't need 100 fish, man. Grab
Yeah.
the ones you can save and work with the ones you have, right?
Yeah.
And again, and again, I'm not, one of the things that I have lived experiences. Okay. I understand cultural humility. Okay. That
Mm.
doesn't make me a certified clinician or a doctor. And I'm well aware of that. I have come across in our field that people give advice and it's no, I'm not here to give advice. I listen.
Mm.
I listen, and then hey, we have these 10 options. What 3 you think are going to work for you?
Yeah.
And then we focus on those 3. I'm not recommending anything. I'm simply telling them, you walk into McDonald's, they got 10 value meals, right?
Mm.
Which one appetizer? Which one do you think you like? It's his or her choosing. It's
Hmm.
always they, and 9 times out of 10, you're in the you understand the field.
Yeah.
Hey, 9 times out of 10, they know what they want. They just need validation, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, hey, let's go, man. And if this doesn't work, we'll try some. But it's always, my job is to provide encouragement and motivate to proceed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just a prescription. You're there to support them and be a good listener. And if they have questions, they can ask and, involve others in that. But yeah, ultimately they gotta do the work. I think kind of like with charity as well. Like someone's in need and you provide charity, but you can't just be giving them stuff. You're just sort of building a foundation from which, you know, it's not the handout, if you will, but they've got to also build and make what they can themselves.
Interesting point you bring up, Fritz.
Mhm.
So when I decided that I was going to give back, I interviewed the charities because
Mm.
not all of them align with my values or what I'm looking for. So
Uh-huh.
I literally made a list and I'm like, okay, and I volunteered at all of them. And then the
Uh-huh.
ones I felt connectivity with, I felt that vibe, I felt, hey, I can do something. Those are the ones I focused on. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
I'm not going to work with the other ones, right? But, and again, we can get into the bureaucratic part of the grants and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. But,
Mhm.
again, and that's why I don't want to do it for monetary compensation, if that makes sense. Because the
Mm.
minute I do it for monetary compensation, that my azimuth just changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The
Those
value.
incentives down in there, you feel it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, and again, and we'll do like, I volunteer to coach Little League time. If there's something that can be done and they need a help, and to your point, I've got nothing but time,
Yeah.
you know. Um, And when I connect with the kid, when I go into I find that it's the skill they needed, not, my skill set. I was brought in for the skill set that they wanted my time for, basically.
Yeah.
But
you've got a great presence and experience, personality, communication ability for it, relating to others, reading the room, reading a person. So I would just say it's beautiful work you're doing. I mean, not to be patronizing about it. I appreciate the fact that people like you are out there doing that. And because I see some of the hard stuff day by day in my job, and it takes people that, one at a time. You're not going to cast the net and just fix them all because you got a formula. It's just whoever can and will show up and walk with you. And sometimes it's one or two, and if it's big, great. But you're doing it, and that's what's admirable. I love the fact that you're doing it. When do you think you might go back to El Salvador next time?
you know what? I was just talking to the wife.
The next birthday.
No. I probably going to wait for spring break to pass, because, you get a lot of people that come into, and then the country gets really crowded. And like I told you, I'm a very private person. I'm also a person of routine. So I've got a set of friends I reach out to. We go to dinner. I've got people that have already retired and left LA or San Francisco and are living in El Salvador. So I like to gather with people. We privately, enjoy a meal, enjoy a nice bottle of wine, catch up, and this is what's interesting. One of my friends is the grandfather of one of the girls one of my nephews is dating.
Oh, okay.
Small. Hey, this is how small El Salvador is. This is how small El Salvador is. So, and so I'm hoping to go after spring break. Then I'll probably make another trip between Father's Day and Labor Day. Then my birthday at the end of September, and then the last 2 weeks of December. We like to spend the holidays down there. I don't know if you've ever Christmas and New Year's in El Salvador is I enjoy it because I feel young again because I watch the kids with the fireworks. Here in El Salvador, fireworks are illegal. In El Salvador, they are not yet. But you see the kids running around. So what I'll do is, what a colonia is in El Salvador, right?
A colonia?
A colonia. It's a block,
yeah, like a neighborhood. Yeah.
Right. So the neighborhood my wife grew up in, I'll go down there and I'll grab the kids and we're going to go up to the store. We're going to buy $100 worth of fireworks. They're going to have the time of their lives. This is something they'll tell their kids about. And I feel grateful just enjoying watching them live their life, because we talk about, experiences in El Salvador. 2 experiences, one I had and one my son had. One of the kids next door came to the house and he said, in El Salvador, they call it estreno. Estreno is a new outfit. So for the holidays, you either get a new outfit or you get fireworks. And I go, hey, man, that's a nice outfit. I go, you're going to change clothes before we do the fireworks tonight, right? He goes, no, we're not going to have fireworks because my mom made us decide, are we getting new clothes or are we getting fireworks? I said, okay. That was my son's 26, so 22 years ago. That's where the annual pilgrimage with the pickup full of kids to go fireworks started. And even when I'm not in country, I send the money to finance the trip to buy the fireworks for the neighborhood kids because they couldn't afford them, right? Okay. That was my experience. My son's experience with the same kid, his best friend, nicknamed Chele, right? The white kid. We did a birthday party for my son in El Salvador, and the kid, you could see him. He was at home because he was at the gate, but he didn't leave. And my son kept saying, Dad, why doesn't he come to the party? And I go, why don't you go ask him? So he comes back. He goes, his mom said he can't come because he doesn't have a gift.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. That's sad. You think of what a kid goes through where like you're feeling the class division now, like, or you don't feel good enough,
Yeah. Well, the kid came to the party with a pair of socks. My son learned a valuable lesson. Fast forward, one's 28, one's 26, and they're best friends. And they live in total opposites, right? But when my son makes the pilgrimage with us to El Salvador, we're going to Ross or we're going to TJ Maxx. Hey, I need to go to the Nike store. I want to bring a Nike t-shirt and Adidas. Because kids, whether they're here, Latin America, Europe, they want the Nike, they want the Adidas stuff,
Right.
stuff they can't afford.
Right.
Or if they can, they get the knockoff, right? But that's that cultural humility part.
Yeah.
So now I've passed it on to my son, and I hope that he carries it forward.
Those are great experiences, and the kids are also getting the kind of freedom, fun experience that you had as a kid in El Salvador, where El Salvador to them is that feeling of that fun and adventure, I suppose, and they get to do that back in the homeland like you did. So,
Exactly, and it creates more and more connection.
now you've given up X for the time being for Lent. And I want to be respectful of that. Sometimes I'll bring up to screen X pages. So
that's fine. I
won't if you're avoiding that.
I'm only giving up mine, not
Okay,
everybody else's.
You're not doom scrolling. So
no.
I was gonna. You mentioned Murph's Life several times, and I follow them here. Yeah, they're building self-sustaining communities, homes, farms, and it's a business that. It's not like they just have a whole bunch of money and are just building stuff. They're working, based on a tight budget and people who can contribute and participate. So anyway, I follow them, but yeah, farming, composting, building up soil and agriculture, greenhouse. Anyway, so Murph's Life is a good one. They're doing good work.
I remember now. The other one is Michael Ruiz, Ruiz. Yeah, he's the head of building in El Salvador.
Oh,
so his handle is at SOV Minds. That's it.
I do follow him. Okay,
Michael. Hey, Michael's journey, man. You should have him on.
Awesome.
You should have him on.
I'm going to write that down real quickly because I've been aware of him. I've been following him. I have not yet, I think, reached out, but if I haven't, I will.
I can help you with an intro.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Mike's a good dude. And he's doing, he's got his finger on the pulse, man. He's everywhere. He's well connected. So, and if you follow him and you go into his YouTube, you'll see he's also on Substack. He's had some great interviews with some different types of entrepreneurship. That's a good dude.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been following some of that. He's all over here. I was going to take a look. Build in El Salvador. Is that his organization?
Yep.
I'm following him.
There you go. Another one too would be at By Moonwalker. That's Rocio. I don't know. She may have been the one that asked you the question at the golf tournament because her and Sean were doing interviews.
Oh, I do follow her. What is it? By
Moon Hunter. That's her right there, Rocio. Yeah. So her and Sean are the ones that are saving the dogs and doing her thing. She's got a podcast. They've got a little school.
Yeah,
they're doing. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I saw her at the golf tournament. Started following her then, and I've been seeing what they're doing. There she is with Max Kaiser.
With Max, yeah.
With
Max. Yes,
I was right. I was standing just right behind there. So
yeah.
It's
good people.
Great stuff with dogs and work they're doing. And so now you can be found. You can find Big Tio here at It's Big Tio. You can search for Big Tio, probably find him there, but that's you there. And I loved chatting with you. So, and you warn everybody here, logging off for Lent back in February 18th. Less scrolling, more reflection, and more prayer. Faith is greater than feed. See you after Easter. So, how's that going so far? How's Lent? It's often hard at first, and then it's like, you're fine. How's it feel?
So it feels wonderful.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. I still get a lot of emails. I still get a lot of links. I may click one here or there, but I'm not logging into my account. As I lost my father during COVID. So as the firstborn, I have become the wise man of the tribe. So I'm leading by example. We're social media. It's wonderful, but it has its downfalls.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal thing. It's a nieces and nephews, and hey, we need to disconnect.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, call me. Don't send me a text. So I'm enjoying that. I thought I was going to have withdrawals because I was really like, I look forward to Moon Hunter and Sean's stuff, Murph's stuff, Mike. Like, I still get Mike's newsletters and stuff, and I'll read them. And, or some of the podcasts, right? JV. And, I do miss my OG Facts guy, Robbie B. Some of the guys that you saw on that bus. And Sergio called it the party bus. It wasn't a party, man. It was actually, it was good times because I genuinely walked away with with relationships I think I'm going to have for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So, but going back to the social media, loving it, man. I'm disconnected. I have books. I read books. I've got like 30 books in line that are going to be read, and I'm catching up on my reading, man.
That's nice. Yeah. I need to schedule a time. Well, I should observe Lent perhaps, but yeah, to disconnect. I like you, I brought a book with me, and you get busy, and I don't have that carved out time to, stop and read through books. I will have a stack of books that I'm getting to, and then day by day and I'm still, mid-career, aging parents, still raising kids, daytime job and all that. And then I'm also going to interview great guests and podcasts here and there. So you get busy, and then that time where I stop to say, okay, I want to read too. And I start to read, and I'm falling asleep because I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But if I gave up one thing, like if I gave up some online stuff for a time, suddenly I've got a lot of time back. And that feeling of having some time back is like, oh, now I can catch up and do something better or new.
Yeah, or maybe it isn't social media for you. Maybe it's something else. As long as you make a sacrifice that you give up something purposefully, you'll be fine. I mean, it all depends. And then as far as reading, sometimes I only read 5 pages. Sometimes I read 25 pages. It all depends, right? It all depends.
Bit by bit, little bit.
Exactly, in chunks, right? In chunks, because life happens, and I can totally relate. I'm fortunate, or my window is like, okay, and I still structure it, and so I wake up at 6:30, drink water, read a chapter, and if I'm really into it, read a second chapter. Then I'll have a cup of coffee. Then my day starts. What am I doing today? Is it Costco day? Am I running to Costco? If I'm volunteering, or I put together some workshop material for peers, because I still have peers that'll reach out to me. Hey, Tone, do you have anything in your files that you give me? And I just share it, right? So I keep structure. But the Lent stuff started following my younger brother. He started doing it a few years back, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it too, and I like it. This is my 3rd or 4th year now, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's better than giving up a Coke. I don't want to miss my Cokes as much as I miss.
Okay. That could be hard, giving up Coke for Lent. Yeah, it's a good kind of a practice or experience to have. It gives you that perspective of, we often don't think of having to give stuff up if we don't have to. Like, why? I mean, you have self-control. Just do what you want. And if you need to rein something in, just do it. But when you do that very deliberately and take a chunk out and then feel that, it's kind of like exercise or like fasting, where it's like, um, yeah, you can eat healthy or just eat less if you want. But like, say you go on just as an example, you go on a deliberate fast, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, this feels different, and it can definitely hit you a little deeper and make you stop and think a little deeper. So,
No, I'm with you. I do one 24-hour fast a week. I have
oh,
Sunday dinner with the
oh,
family, and I
yeah,
won't eat again until Monday night.
yeah, yeah, and
So
it gives your
yeah, I
it's
can relate. The brain fog, that all that is real, man. All that is now we all
yeah,
experience it differently, right? We all experience it differently, you
yeah,
know. But it's the decluttering, whether it be a fast or the no social media. And I'll tell you where I am struggling on that part. So I meet a lot of new or different people, or they ask me, Tone, do you mind jumping on a call with so and so? And if I don't know so and so, the first thing I do is on LinkedIn, I Google somebody because I like to
mm,
know, I like to study who I'm going to have the conversation because I'm looking for entry points. How do
yeah,
we link, right? And it all circles back to social media.
mm,
You learn more about their posting habits than by reading their LinkedIn profile, because a LinkedIn
mm.
profile says one thing, their posting habits completely different, my friend. So
Interesting. I never thought
yeah,
about that.
because
Yeah,
I always do my homework on I prepare, man. That's just I'm some maybe I overanalyze, but you know what, like I told my wife, it gave us what we got, the roof we got, the cars we drive. Me being prepared at all times provided for me able to not have to go back to work in my mid-50s. So
uh-huh.
God is good. God is
Yeah,
good.
good. Nice. You've been blessed. You've been blessed in many different ways, and you've also earned it. But not just earned it and sitting on it, but earned it and creating a spiritually circular economy. Um, and yeah, so it's like if fasting gives you that kind of like metabolic flexibility and feeling, and your body can kind of detox, something like, Lent and other exercises could give that to you at another deep level through a certain habit you have or spiritually. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. So,
Yeah, and
man,
it's again, it'd be nice. So that's one of the ideas. So having this conversation with you, and we talked about it. We know it's a podcast, but it's a
yeah,
conversation. I'd like to create an organization with more like-minded individuals and do the hub spoke,
mm,
where we gather the troops and say, hey, maybe we go out your way to the Pacific Northwest. How can we as an organization find a project to give back for this weekend? A couple
uh-huh,
months later, hey, somebody in San Francisco, let's go San Francisco. People that can
mhm.
and are willing, but
Yeah,
open it up, because there are people that just don't know how to get into the into the arena, if to say. But there's
sure,
a lot of people out there. I've met a lot of people that want to give, and even people in recovery who are looking for an opportunity. These
uh-huh,
are great opportunities. So I've got some ideas. I've got some business plans I'm writing up. Again, I
cool,
just don't want to be. I want to help spearhead and drive it, but I don't want to be the head. I actually I'd like to build it like Share has. They built it. Their whole organization is based on people that are in the recovery area.
oh, okay,
Yeah. So they have two
interesting,
centers. They have one in downtown LA and they got one in Culver City. I purposely chose the Culver City one because it's all peer. They've lived experiences. That's so key. That is so key.
yeah. The peer support organizations in my area, and people who are in recovery and participate, number one, it's like, yeah, they're working on themselves, sure, but sometimes part of their recovery involves community service in a way, and even just for neighbors, but even as perhaps as a group of individuals that are working on stuff together, or they plug in with, in our smallish city, it's sort of like, well, there's the Salvation Army or Goodwill or things like that, but finding those niche places, and that process for them feeds their spirit and their sobriety.
They
And
want to be contributors.
yeah,
They
yeah,
want to be accepted as normal. They know they're in recovery. We don't need to remind them they're in recovery.
right.
They
Yeah.
know it, and they
Yeah.
want to be contributors. And that's why, and again, I'll start with my circle, and then I'll see how it goes. But I want to be able to, and there's opportunities there. And just like they are here, there are going to be those opportunities in El Salvador.
Oh,
Because
yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And that's something, hey, I've got one like-minded individual I can have a conversation with because you've been to El Salvador. And
Yeah.
there's going to be, as people go back into society and try to reintegrate, that is a less forgiving society than we are here. Because here
Uh,
you could get lost by numbers. Over
uh-huh.
there, you're branded.
Right. Right.
So got to figure out how, again, and again, how do I make it mutually beneficial? Because I also understand I've got to be able to compensate people for it because they can't do it for free like I can here. You know what I'm saying? They're going to need a salary in El Salvador. I got to find out what that salary is going to be and how I can go about it. But I've got some ideas, and I'd like to go to the towns like where Sergio grew up, stuff like that, where everyone's going to need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's exciting to think about. I look forward to see what comes and hearing about it. And then when you're back on X down the road, seeing it there perhaps. So watch it evolve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
This has been a great conversation. I've really appreciated your time, and I could certainly talk more. It's been a good long one. I actually do have to, speaking of family, I need to go maybe catch my son at his swim meet going on or his swim competition. And I had some good time to do it. I'm glad you gave me your time this morning to do this with me. And it's been great. I love having been introduced to you and met you, learn more much about you, and having a great conversation about all kinds of things. There's so much more to talk about and ideas to be had. Uh, I just want to be respectful of our time, but it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I have a hard stop coming up too. I expected 90 minutes, not 2
Oh
hours.
yeah. I mean, next thing I know, I glanced at the clock. It's like, it's been like 2 hours.
I've got at 10:30. I've got to drop one of the cars off at the shop. That's my honeydews for the day. And then,
Yeah.
luckily for me, I'm playing a round of golf with my younger brother. And
Oh, cool. Nice.
we talked about community. I can't let this one go.
Yeah.
I live in 1515. I open my front door. My neighbor, my little brother, is 1519.
Oh,
We've stayed our entire adulthood lives. We've been neighbors.
wow. That's
So
awesome.
we talk about family and faith, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
sir. Yes,
you,
sir.
you that's so nice. I mean, so many people. I was just online last night. I was relating with somebody who, like my parents live a little bit far away from, now their grandkids. And when I was a kid and I was up and finding my career, I ended up far away. And that families get separated by generations. Grandparents miss their kids, then they miss their grandkids. And then
Yes.
it's, you don't get to see each other so often, and families get scattered. And I just sort of imagine how it might feel for the grandparents, and then the kind of relationship that the grandkids have. You're just so blessed in so many ways. That's awesome to have that with your
Yeah.
close family. So
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to picking up my niece at high school when she gets out of school.
oh
So,
man,
again, and it goes back to how my parents raised me and how they were raised. But I know you've got to go, and I've got this hard stop. It was a pleasure. I'm humbled to have had this opportunity and to connect. And based on our conversation, I made some notes. Definitely, there'll be some follow up because
cool.
I felt we had a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
I felt there was a genuine connection. I did not know you were in the support environment as well.
Yeah. I don't do
And
peer support, but I've worked for a good decade with peer mentors very
right.
directly.
Yeah,
So
it's working with people, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
again, it's so there's a connection there. And again, I'm for those who watch it, thank you for your time. And
Yeah.
if anybody wants to reach out to me at X, it's Big Tio. And then if anybody would love send me an email if they need anything, I can be found at Tony E Sanchez at Gmail. Feel free, man. I will respond to all emails. It's,
I'm
love
going
the
to
chat.
type that into the comment here. TonyESanchez@gmail.com.
Yes, sir. Tony with a Y.
Yeah. TonyE Sanchez@gmail.com. I threw that up there. And again, Big Tio, it's Big Tio on X. So there you are. Tony, it's been so great. I guess we'll allow ourselves to go on with our responsible lives and our honeydew
adults.
lists and our kids and our golfing. So
yes, sir.
And Sergio, thanks for the hat. I appreciate the hat.
Absolutely.
I wanted to wear this today for Sergio because Sergio is how I met Tony. So
Sergio, thanks for the connect, brother.
Yep. Oh yeah, you can go to bitcoincaps.net, and that's Sergio's hat. Mine is one of them in here. It's like this one, except it's black. So
there you go.
Anyway.
I'm actually working on a project. I'm going to have him make some Big Tio hats.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the Big Tio brand. Big Tio.
Got the logo. We've already got the site.
Oh.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. We'll say bye, everybody.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.